The latest analysis of questionable claims related to personal injury protection, or PIP fraud in Florida, paints a dramatic picture of how alleged insurance criminals do business. They tend to follow the path of least resistance, moving their operations when the heat is turned up. Such was the case over the past 3 years, as NICB, our member companies, law enforcement, and lawmakers began focusing on PIP fraud related to staged accidents that had shifted from South Florida to the Tampa area. When the pressure increased in Tampa, the so-called PIP clinic set up to allegedly treat accident victims found a new target, Jacksonville. The Bay Meadows Clinic opened its doors in January of 2011 in South Jacksonville. Just a few weeks later, at this McDonald's parking lot a few blocks away, the first staged accident occurred.
This was the initial clinic that started due to the intelligence that we received from South Florida, and the ordinance that was put in place down in Hillsborough County kind of drove these clinics up here. This clinic, Bay Meadows, was the first clinic to pop up. It incorporated in January of 2011. Prior to that, we've had a couple of strategy meetings with Department of Financial Services and the member companies to kind of have a plan of attack when these clinics did come up here and start billing. From 2011 to 2012 into 13, another 9 clinics popped up with all ties to South and Central Florida.
I first got the call from our local NICB, Wayne Palacci, and he told me, he says, "Hey, look, it's for sure these guys are here because they have direct ties to Tampa." And he saw the connection through NICB. To be able to, I'm sure you heard the phrase "follow the money." And that works to some extent, but when you pull these bank accounts and then you start seeing this cash just being pulled out by the thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, then the trail stops. I went back and looked, and I could see that these accidents fill the same mold, whereas low speed, absolutely zero damage, and probably one of the key elements is nobody ever reports any injuries at the scene, because they don't want ambulance showing up. And then they treat the very next day, and then of course they're all going to the same location. And then you'd see some interesting things, like in one car you'd be 4 individuals, but they didn't know each other, but yet they're all going to the mall together.
The scheme was all about money, paying members of the alleged criminal ring to recruit people to be willing participants in the staged accident scheme.
The organizer or the owner, who wasn't on paper, would come to town from Tampa, and they would meet at some location, whether it be a McDonald's or a parking lot somewhere, and then all the recruiters would come there, and then they would, get a sense of how this was going to happen. And obviously, the recruiters got a lot more money, and they tried to find the cheapest participant that they could find. So somebody's got paid as little as $100, all the way up to $2,000.
Once the staged accident took place, the medical coverage portion of the participant's insurance policy was targeted by the clinics to generate bills up to the $10,000 PIP limit.
The chiropractor was doing the exact same diagnosis for each and every person that came through the door. And again, when we started picking away at those, and when I say picking away, so we'd pick a particular accident, we would arrest the claimants only to find out no one's injured at all. All of them are testifying, no, we're not injured at all. This is who recruited us. This is how much I got paid. This is where I went, and this is why I went there. I have at least 600 that I can tell you that are participants. Now we're right at about 120 arrests.
A critical component in stopping this kind of fraud is having someone willing to take a case to court. And in this case, Florida has dedicated prosecutors like Joe Lacandro, who specialize in insurance fraud.
I think it's critical. I think if there was not prosecution, it would continue. And what I've liked about the way we've handled our case is whether you're just a low-level player or you're the owner of one of these fraudulent clinics, everyone who's been involved, that we could, there's probable cause for their arrest has been arrested, and I think virtually everybody in Detective Murphy's case has been prosecuted. I don't think we've had to drop a single case that he's investigated. So I think that it shows that whether you're just a minor player or a major player, that the state will take that seriously and go after you and hold you accountable for it. And right now we're close to 100 some odd arrests. And I don't have the figures, but I know that since the one diagnostic center was shut down, this type of crime is curtailed, and literally every arrest we've had in this case is now historical in nature. I'm not seeing any new ones pop up.
So things have calmed down in Jacksonville, and it appears the fraudsters have moved on for now, setting up operations in other PIP states like Kentucky. And if they aren't staging accidents to generate claims, they'll be coming up with some other new scheme.
What we're starting to see is fraudulent billing, not so much the accidents or stage, but it's chiropractors or massage therapists that are treating people and they're upcoding and they're doing things like that. And there's some maybe even alliances with some personal injury attorneys. You're seeing some of that there just seems to be some potential fraud there that we're investigating right now. But the stage accident aspect of it is gone.
They learn as they move, you know, as we do. So they know the loopholes. They know the insurance law better than sometimes law enforcement because they're involved in it. They become professionals at it. So it's difficult.
But in this case, the good guys were one step ahead, waiting for them. And as is usually the case with alleged criminals, their greed got the best of them. In Jacksonville, I'm Roger Morris for the National Insurance Crime Bureau.